doing the best I can. Some days I'm just struggling to get up in the morning. I brushed all my teeth today. I feel pretty good. Like I got a good start today. I even washed my hair. Got to donate it soon, so I got to get my act together and get that party started. Oh yeah, so today is, we did September, so we're gonna do October today. October 3rd. And I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna actually create multiple projects today, so I wanna do like a 1, 2, 3 thing. Oh no, we'll leave that, and we'll just call this one. Jar, jar, jar. And we want our spring web. So I just type web, I get spring web, bing. This is exactly what we did in the previous things. There's nothing new. I just want to show you one more thing before we move on to the next step. But like what I was saying, like last week, it's like everything seems harder than it should be. Like I can't even get my venture card to work. You know what I'm saying? But yes, I do need to actually put it on my phone. But they didn't send me a new, usually they send me a new card. That's all I'm remembering, to get rid of the old card. Okay, why are you not going to just extract to 1? There you go. Perfect. So I'm just going to actually take this class and I'm going to just copy everything we did last class right into this one. So I'll need to, and I have several people have asked me to do this or asked me questions about this, but I keep pointing out that I've done it virtually every day in class. And you're like, wait, what? I know, exciting. Also, I have a bunch of appointments today.
Appointments?
Everybody made appointments.
So like to meet with you?
No, like I have 2 administrative people want to meet with me for something, and then I have 2 students who want to meet with me for something. Totally fine. I just have a bunch of appointments. Usually I don't. Usually I just sit in my office and complain about shit, but unfortunately not today. So I'm going to do student just because it's going to make my life easier. And then 9/26, I believe, was the last day. So you see the application. Nope, 9/26 was not the last day. September 28th was. Boom. So we're going to copy those, and then I'm going to paste. A refactor copy, so it just changes the package name, and then we're in great shape. Okay, so I realize I'm going to copy this out of another folder rather than try to remember what it is, but we want to do exception handling. And so I'm actually going to create another controller so I don't mess with the student controller, just so I can blow stuff up. Right? We'll call it the exception controller. And you know why we want the exception controller? Because we want to be able to, like, I'm going to remove all the junk out of it, because we're going to eventually use this. We're eventually going to use this as is to do our front end. So we want to have this groomed to some extent. Okay. We don't want a bunch of junk here, but wait, not exception handler. What's the one I want? Exception controller. All the endpoints in this guy are just going to be throwing exceptions of different varieties. So it's garbage. And I'm going to take some of the student controller stuff and put it in there. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to go make sure it specifies a REST controller. Wait a second, did I type the damn thing wrong? No, did type it wrong. Yep. I could just have 10 minutes in my office just to calm down from running in from the office. Because unlike I had to take the red line today. I got to join all the people. So we're going to have a get mapping, and let's throw an exception so we can know what it is. And we're going to go, we're going to call this the oops. We go public string try me sucker, right? And then, because we love life, throw new, it's a good exception. Something like that, right? No, crap. Spell it wrong. Let's use something else. An IO exception. So checked exceptions, we have to add a throws clause. Try me, sucker. Now let's do another one. Oops, 2. Because I can't think of good runtime exceptions. I'll have to look them up. I'm going to go with runtime exception here. Shouldn't need an import for that. Oh, can't call it the same thing. Bang. And I need to add an import for you. We're going to see what happens when we throw exceptions. Yay. Exceptions are actually very simple to handle. They just don't work the way you think they should work. So, but they are actually very simple to deal with, but you have to be kind of careful. That's why we're actually going to put a lot of controller exception code in our controllers, because we want to make sure that we're catching problems, right? The type of exceptions we don't care about so much about are when the system's down. We might want to log problems, right? But we don't want to necessarily worry about throwing an exception every time somebody tries to add a new person, right? That's crazy. So we don't want to do that. We want to do a lot of try catches in our main code, and then exception controllers are really just for when all hell breaks loose. It's a good way to put it. You just want to log and quit, essentially. We want to send an error message and we want to log and quit. All right, so this is what I was talking about. We need to insert a dependency, add dependency, and you need your MySQL connector, and you can write Java if you want. It's all the same. Yeah, so wait, what else did I? There it is. MySQL connector, and you just want the biggest number. Click add, and now it's that dependency is loaded. Right. Today we're going to find out what it means when you add the JDBC dependency. We're going to find out what that means. That is not what you think it is. That is not doing that thing for you. Okay. It adds JDBC code, which we are going to look at, but we're not going to use. Okay, because it's much more complicated. All right, so now let's run this party. There's my controller. Obviously, I should not have named that one, but whatever. Some days you're a pigeon, some days you're the statue. Some days everything you run just works just perfectly, right? And other days, man, your CTA card doesn't work. You have a bunch of meetings you'd rather not have. Boom.
Target.
Huh?
I'm gonna go to Target. Pick up your what bucket? I forget what you said earlier.
Pick up my, what you call it?
The thing from Target, what is it?
Oh yeah, it's a bucket. No, joking. It's a container so I can put stuff away and not have rats eat it. We have a rat problem. Oh, by the way, so apparently I got one. I got a good one for you. So I was cleaning out a rat's nest this weekend. I know, right? Really? But I was. And guess what? A rat came jumping, like it just looked like garbage underneath the shelf. So I was just sweeping it out, but I had my face down there and a rat came jumping, was bounding. And it came bounding right by my, underneath my arm, but near my head. So I jumped back like this and it kept going past me, jumped clear down the stairs to go outside the house, right? And then this is in the back area, like this is not in the main apartment. And then it turns around because the door is closed and starts coming up back up the stairs. And I screamed. So anyway, internal server error status 500. That was my weekend. How was your weekend? Not like that, right?
No.
And then I slept in a tent. My back hurt because I slept in a tent. Nah, I just got out of it at like 3 in the morning to go pee or something, and it hurt. So, but here's an exception. This is bad. Right? This is bad. You get null, and you get exception controller, try me sucker, exception controller, classes, blah, 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 blah. It's not even telling you what it's trying to invoke because it's pretty useless. But we know it through an exception. Okay? That was oops. Note the user doesn't get anything useful. User only gets 500. That's all it returns to the user. But runtime, did it tell us? Yeah, IO exception, null. And then the second one was a runtime exception. Yay. So not good, right? But what if all hell breaks loose, right? We're going to start using framework stuff. We haven't used them yet, but with this current code, the exception controller is an example, not the student code controller, excuse me. Suppose this connection fails, right? Our code could take that into effect and then return responses, right? For it. It could easily, but that would be extremely repetitive and there would be a lot of try catch statements that we aren't really generally concerned with. As long as this connection's good, we're good, right? We don't have to do anything. As long as that connection ends up getting made, we don't have to worry about doing all that other checking. We only need to check for situations that can occur because of our code, right? Right. So we want to put the exception handling somewhere else. So how do we do that? So now we had the exception controller. We specified it as a REST controller. We're going to create another class. And it's going to call the exception handler. Then we're going to put, I'm trying to remember the name of it. Sorry. I'm going to control. I have that 10.4 open, so I think I'm going to verify that that's what it's called. Yeah, controller advice. Now, what controller advice does is it provides an annotation to say, hey, for all the controllers in this, I'm going to be providing advice. There's really nothing to it. Nope, 10.4 is not what we're looking for. Neither is 9.26. Can't read this stuff at all. That's not helpful. Close. We don't need you open. In a folder called old, just like me. A folder called new folder. There you go. One of these has it. Probably 927. 927 has it. Of course it doesn't, right? All right. I'd click close if I could find it. There we go. Yeah.
Close enough.
Hold on a second, guys. We need a slight adjustment here. Seems better, right? Doesn't help that I look like this, but you know.
I don't have mine on today, so it's cool.
No. I don't mean that. I mean, like I'm not wearing them like this, like a normal person. Do you know what I mean? Like you wear your glasses on your nose, like a normal person. I wear them like this, like a not normal person. You get what I'm throwing down? My wife also makes fun of me on a regular basis for wanting to wear, I like the idea of wearing a cardigans. It's like an open sweater. I love it. She's like, dude, you're too old. You're too young for that.
Too young or too old?
I'm too young for that, she said. 929 is the project afterward. That's the one I really. Boom. And I can look at it, I can see it. Global exception handler. Yay. There it is. It is controller device. We don't have to do anything there. All I'm going to do is set up a logger. So I'm going to do that. And I copied and pasted that so I don't have to do anything there. And it's on September 28th. What is our current one? Is one. Stupid name. The exception handler. Come on, Ruth. I swear I'm clicking it. It's already open, that's why. And so I'm just gonna put the logger there, and then we're gonna have an exception. And this is the crazy part. Remember how we specify our endpoints? Oh. Damn it. Delete, just get rid of. Bye. Sorry. Trying to go too fast. Copy this in here, and it copied it like that. There we go. Dink, dink. And we have a logger. Yay. So just like endpoints, you need to specify what you're going to be handling, right? This isn't a try catch anymore. This is just the catch part. That's all we're specifying, right? And it's going to specify a global one. This is weird. I don't like this, but it is life. Yes? Okay. So what a weird means is that it's not your typical try catch. Remember, you have the multiple catch statements and it'll catch it in order of what you call it. This one will catch the most specific one. It just goes to the most specific one. So it acts a little weird. Sorry, people keep adding to the, nope, I want the global exception handler, and voila, right? So we're gonna go ahead and put, I just copied and pasted it, by the way, an exception handler class, right? Unfortunately, it imported it all, right? You can just do this, by the way. That's what we've been doing all along. And then I'll have to import it. Hell, it can. That's how it is in the other one. See? I just need to import it. Just need to import it. And why isn't it opening for me automatically? Okay, not sure why it didn't like it. All right. See? Automatically convert it, but I don't want it to automatically convert. Okay, so this is weird. Alt enter. Yeah, I'm aware of that. All right. I'm annoyed. Hold on one second. It's an import. All it is an import. See the import? Watch this. For some reason, it's being annoying. Oh, shit, because the class is exception handler. So that's why it's going, no. I named it exception handler. So it's not gonna like it no matter what I do because I named the class after the annotation. So let's rename the class. My exception handler. And then all the problems go away. Sorry. So anyway. And then you put the type of exception you wish to catch. So I'm going to put exception.class here, and the response entity is going to return. It's going to handle the exception that's given here. It's going to say exception. It's going to get e stack trace. Array is concatenated with a string. I don't care. It's not an error. It's just what you call it. And then it's going to return it, right? Right. We're going to play around with more exceptions. This is our first one. Okay, but here's the bad news. One of them was an IO exception and the other was a runtime exception. they both of type exception, right? Right. So you know how like we like to use the knowledge built in to what you already know to teach you something new? Oops, it was already running. Of course it was already running. Of course it is. I can't look up at you guys without ducking my head and doing this.
Why would it look like
It's fuzzy as hell. You're fuzzy. This is clear. Fuzzy, clear.
Interesting. That's not how my eyes work, but I wonder if contacts are working.
I know. I have just old, what I have is old people. They just say, well, you're getting older. You laugh. Everything, dude, I go to the doctor, dude. Last year, remember when I hurt my shoulder when it's sledding? Oh, you're just getting older. You shouldn't be doing that. I'm like, no shit, huh? All right, just old. All right, so now we do oops. And that isn't what we're supposed to get, but whatever. This page isn't working. Getting a 4. Oh, are we getting a response? We are. The exception handler is responding, and it's returning something that the browser is not aware of. Because I actually, if you look at the exception handler, I have it return an entity string. Set returns it with a expectation field. That's a 417. Yes. Yay. I forgot that I did that. Now, let's screw around and go back to our global exception handler. There's 2 other exceptions I want to show you. Class caps exception is a good one. But it's not really the one I'm interested in. Because I was doing something different today. So I'm going to go do one more, and I'm just going to show you. I'm going to put the runtime exception in here. And a runtime exception. And guess what I'm going to do differently? Nothing. I don't care. It's just show you that I'm catching it based on the type, right? That's it. But that's weird. That should make your alarms, the alarms in your head go off a little bit. There's too many of these things open, essentially. Can I close to the right? No. All right, fine. I'll go away. Here we go. It's too many things open. I hate when I have too many things open. And I've been spoiled by Chrome and being able to close everything to the right. Okay, now we're up and running. Oops. Oops 2. And exception, you get a stack trace, and you get exception. Unfortunately, we can't tell which one actually ran it, right? We get the same error no matter what one we run because we're doing exactly the same thing. So unfortunately, I didn't do anything different here. There we go. Now at least so different. I should have done that at the beginning. I'm sorry. Whatever. We don't need to do a lot here. There's 2 things I'm going to show you. This is part of it. Global exception handler. But then we also want to return some sort of response that allows us to troubleshoot what went wrong. I don't have it in this global exception handler, the one we have from 9/29 last year. So I will have to find it because I really don't want to rebuild it. But essentially, we're going to make a class. And what that class is going to do is going to return all the errors that we might have for validation problems. We don't do that now. We just do this exception thing. So stupid. Oh, well, whatever. Good shape. Good shape. Good job. All right. So we ran it again. Let's go do oops. Well, oops, 2 is first. Then we go, oops. Oops should be handled by the generic exception, and the runtime exception should be handled by the runtime exception, right? Runtime exception is handled by the runtime exception, the error is not. It doesn't matter. When I was saying your alarm bell should be going off, look at this one, it comes first. This one's listed first. Shouldn't this be all of them? That doesn't matter at all. It'll handle the most specific one. So if I have a very specific type of runtime exception and I put that down here, it'll catch that. Yes, play with it. Okay, it's a little strange. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's a little strange, but it's going to handle the most specific type of exception you can get.
So it's better than a try catch.
It's the catch. It's just the catch. There's no try. It's just a catch. What the try is going to happen is if an exception is thrown in any controller, since controller advice, it's going to be caught by the global exception handler. You can actually write these. You can actually write these exception handlers within the controllers. That would only be for that controller. But that's considered usually a bad idea. Unless you have a specific type of error you're looking for in one controller, it's always a bad idea. If you're going to have a global one, it should be either really local or fully global. And really all we're looking for at this level is your SQL exception, right? You can't connect. You can't respond to the user. So you've got to say, 500 error or whatever, but you've got to log in and stuff like that. That's what this is for. This isn't for like small errors because it's unlike a catch, like with a catch, sometimes you can correct the error, fix the problem, null pointer. So you could, create a new student or whatever. You can't do that here. There's no going back to the code that threw it. You're just logging it and moving on. Right? Ideally, you're sending the message back to whoever asked it. Yes? And these can be 500 error messages. There's nothing to say that couldn't, but whatever. When we get to validation, we get a lot more complicated because then we have validation errors to deal with. And that's useful to have more information than just, hey, you threw this exception. This is for you, not for the user. Okay? It's for you, not for the user. And the other thing too to remember is 99% of this exception handler is really when all hell breaks loose, like your database is down. The database is down, all attempts to connect to it are going to fail. All of them. All of them. And so what happens? Everything's going to throw an exception. To remove that amount of checking out of your controller, you can use a my exception handler. In fact, that's the way we do things. So you notice with the array list get students A, I just have a string SQL and it says throw a SQL exception, right? Why is that? The SQL exception can occur if I can't connect to the database or my statement is incorrect. We know that this statement is going to be correct no matter what, right? So I can execute the query and the global exception handler can handle that error, right? But trying to find one where I actually have an error that I have to deal with. Yeah, here we go. The try catch here. Why do I need that try catch? I'm not worried about the database connecting at this point, right? I'm actually doing it and I did it poorly. I should not do it this way, but I did it poorly, but I'm using the try catch to determine if it already exists. If you recall, if it already exists, it'll throw a SQL exception. So that's why I'm catching it.
So that's poorly done because it's not in the global.
Yeah, you shouldn't throw an exception. You shouldn't use an exception for logic. I should do this thing where I do for delete. I think I do it later. Where, nope, I don't. I do it poorly in delete as well. I should actually go get a count and make sure the count is more than one. If the count is more than one, it's there. I can insert it. Right? That's better. You're using the same connection, so it's not actually that much extra work to do the database. So I know some people worry about it, but yeah. And then delete the student. We don't have a try catch here either, but whatever. But realistically, we shouldn't use exception. You should never use exceptions as a mechanism for logic. Yes, and I literally did that here. Yay! Because I think it was in a hurry. All right, so now we have our global exception handler. We're going to move on to the next thing, and y'all are going to not like it. So why are we not going to like it? You want the bad news or the good news? The good news is it's going to make our life easier. The bad news is we're going to learn something for about 30-ish minutes that we'll never, ever actually have to use. Stepping stone, right?
Why learn it?
Because it's important. Unfortunately. So let's call this October 3rd. Let's leave it in Ruth and call this October 3rd 2. Yay. And we're going to add a dependency. This is that JDBC thing I was telling you about. JDBC. Some people like this, by the way. I don't, but some people like it. I give you the option for homework to use second homework to use either JDBC or JPA. But I would think that, and I don't know why, but most of you are going to want to use JPA. It's just easier. Requires more thought, I guess, but it's a lot easier.
That's what you use? If you had to pick between the two?
I would always pick JPA. Less code is better. Requires you to know more, I guess, but once you get a hang of what's going on, you're going to do less. And I don't know about you guys, but I like doing less. You know why? Doing less doesn't suck. It's true. Whether you like it or not, it's true. All right. So we're going to go ahead and open 2. And there's really not a whole lot in here to be worried about because there's like it showed when you actually add a bunch of imports, you know, the first thing I'm going to show you is application. It's the exact same. There's nothing new. You just now have the ability to use the JDBC framework. That's it. You still have to, by the way, and this annoys people, but I'm sorry. You still have to do the MySQL connector Java. You still have to do this. Yes, I'm reading it if you want to know.
You wouldn't have to do that if the other thing worked beforehand, right? That you were trying to get to work.
Nope. You mean Derby?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd still need Derby.
No, but you would need to add dependency every single time. And
Yep. This is different. Okay, what we're going to talk about is going to be a little weird, but let me find it. I'm having trouble finding it right now. Huh. Here it is. MySQL comes faster. Boom. All right. So what JDBC does, adds a JDBC framework, not JDBC drivers. Now, supposedly there's a way you can do like things like MySQL, right? But I avoid those because I don't know. It's just easier to do this to me. Just to quickly add the dependency, it takes 2 seconds. It's added. The bad news is this is not going to work the same way. We're going to actually, I want to close those 2 guys. Frick is closed. There it is. I want to close you and I want to close you. I want September 28 to remain. I do not want to delete. I just want to close. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and create a new class, a new package called student. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to start off by copying the stuff. All we do is copy a lot of stuff, right? And then I'm going to open one more project because, like I said, I'm a little, what you call it, a little frazzled today. So we're going to open 10.4. I think was I looked at it. That was the one I wanted to have. We have an employee controller, so it's slightly different. This is where things are going to get weird. Y'all like it when things get weird though, right? No, some students like things when they get weird, right? One guy, I asked him what he's going to do this week, and it's just, shooting the shit boy while I was waiting for something to go, and he says, I'm going to get weird. Like, okay. So with the JWC system already built in, we just add this DB here. Boom. And then, shoot, we have a get students A and get students B. What is the difference? Oh yeah, one returns a response entity, one does not. Let's take the response entity. Let's get rid of that second one. Nope. Yep. Let me get rid of part of it. I just can't see it all at once because it's too much data. All right, so we have our get students. Yay. And we're going to do a SQL string and all that good stuff, right? We're going to go db dot, and it's our connection to the database. So now we can call execute string, and it returns, this one returns void, so it's not a query. Here you go. Here's a query. And then you get these weird things like a row mapper. What the hell is that? So you remember your result set that returns? This is going to return a list. And you're like, wait, what you're going to do is you're going to create a row mapper for your data item. In our case, it's student, right? So we're going to create a row mapper, and that row mapper interface is going to be sucked right in to this method. And it's going to take the SQL statement. It's going to execute the SQL statement. It's going to take the result set underneath using our row mapper and turn it into an array of whatever item we have. And you're like, no fucking way. Right? You're like, no, Ruth, this isn't happening. All right, this is for an employee, but we're about to do this exact thing for student, okay? I'm sorry, I can barely see. I actually clicked the wrong one on accident. So we're gonna go ahead and create a student row mapper. Now, this is why I need this employee row mapper, because I actually have to implement row mapper. It's a generic, what you call it? But watch this. It says I have to implement it, blah, blah, blah. Now I got to implement things. I don't want employee, I want. Okay. Come on. And it says I want to create all these things. It says implement unimplemented abstract methods of row mapper. Only got one. And what the hell? You actually created it outside of the actual class? Stupid head. There we go. Does now. Search dependency for SQL injection. Why would you need, oh, dude, we create something out of. Yep. It didn't like the brackets. Yes, when I went to go force it to implement the abstract method, it says, oh, here's some extra brackets for you. This will make your day. All right, so this is all it is, okay? You're gonna return a student based on a result set and the row number. Do we care about the row number? No. Well, you do, but you don't. New student, right? Just like we've always done. Then s dot set SID, we're gonna go result set dot, what is it? It's an integer in my case, so I'm gonna go integer, and that should be SID, I think is the label. Right, we have an example somewhere, but I don't really care, right? But if it screws up, we'll know about it right away. And no, one more. So we're gonna go set name. Stop clicking. Major GPA. Oh, and this is going to be GPA. This is why I name everything. You might notice that I named everything in the database using uppercase. That's why I do this. That's why I do it. That's why you want to be consistent everywhere. It's because now I know I just need to use the uppercase version of it. Because if it's the wrong name, it'll actually throw an exception, and then you're all like, what is this stupid thing doing this to me? Although it's not really doing it to you, but I'm sure you all felt that way at some point. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong that you've taken compiler problems personally. Well, I've done it. I know I've done it. I've done it this week. And then, believe it or not, you just return that student. And what it's going to do, the row mapper is going to do, is in the process, it's going to do the query or whatever it's got to do. And then it's going to map each row using this row mapper. It's going to create a new student for each row in that result. And I'm just going to double check the employee. Yeah. Oop. Now, watch this. Query. Still need the query. Come on, new. All the German fest things. I keep trying to write strudel. All right, so what do we get wrong here? Get something wrong.
The parentheses at that.
I got a parentheses.
There's an extra one there. Oh, no, never mind.
Should be. Oh, wait. Yeah, student row mapper doesn't take anything. That's a problem right there. We already have the type specified. Yay. All right, and because I can't remember anything, my nose is about to literally run off my face. Sorry. Itching like I'm gonna sneeze. Why is it not coming up? All right, so this actually returns a list. So all we have to do here and I'm going to change this to list. This is going to make our life easier. And then I don't have to do any of this shit. None of it. I'd say that's a lot easier. What do you say? Yes. Then you got the student ID, right? Now you get a different string, right? But I have some bad news. There we go. Query for object is what I want to use because I know I should only return what? One thing, right? So I'm going to go ahead and leave my SQL string as my SQL string. That way I can leave that as that. And then I'm going to come back here and all the row mappers all going to use the same thing. There's not like it's going to be, you know what I mean? Now I don't, because I don't like it. I like to use a new one whenever I need one. But you could create a row mapper and then just pass it off constantly. Move query for object. Right? It returns an object, right? So what do you need to do? Cast it into a student. The hell is that? It said return it. So what is wrong with it? Oh, S is already defined. Of course it is. Now we've already got an object, right? What if it returns null? If, actually, I don't know. This isn't the way to do this, by the way. Maybe doing this wrong. Not there. In fact, I'm going to check in 2 seconds, right? As soon as I do this. I believe I'm doing this wrong. I believe. Yeah, VID doesn't equal null. We're going to query for object. Oh, yeah. Query for object. Wait, it just returns an empty list. That's what's happening. It's going to return an empty list if, oh no, I don't want to do that. Crap. That's what we got to do, apparently. All right. So I don't love this, but this is what one way to do this. So I'm going to just show it to you. We're not going to stick with it. I don't like things like this. I don't want September 28th. I want October 3rd too. All right. We can do it this way. I don't like this way. Sorry. So we're going to put this guy inside of a try catch. We're going to look for a very special type of exception. If there is nothing to map, right? The row mapper is going to throw an exception when it tries to map a null element, right? Then what? Then you return, you don't find it, right? Basically. But what's another way? We keep talking about this and I keep bouncing around. You don't really want to use exception. What's a way you can do this? How do I know I'm going to have an empty result data set? What's going to be true? I can't remember. Here is a way to get the number of rows. All right, I use it for something else. I know I use it for something else. Yes. Nope. There it is right there. There it is right there. Is that the one I use? That's the one I use throughout. Boom. All right. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to query the same query I had below. It's the same thing. It's not like it's different. And the only thing that's going to be different is I'm going to select the count. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to query for the object. It's missing more than that. Yeah, there you go. I'm just going to comment this out for now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the value and query for object. And if I query for object for a simple type like an integer, I can just put the integer type in, and that essentially is like a row mapper if it's just one thing. And I'm getting the count, right? So int val. Now I can check to see if Greater than 0. If it's greater than 0, what's going to happen? That means it exists. So I don't have to do anything else. I can just do this. Now I know that that's not going to throw that exception. Boom. And I will have, in fact, a student. Yes? Now I can put together my return. So now I can do return the S in an OK statement. Come on, end. Why aren't you going to the end? There we go. We're doing an OK. And then we're going to do an else. And we're going to go not OK, right? So we're going to leave this null. We don't have to do anything here. It's probably the easiest thing to do is just turn it null, or we can use it the SID. It doesn't really matter. But we're going to specify that it was not found. This is much more important than the actual result you return. The JavaScript, I keep talking about this, the JavaScript tool that we use will actually be able to use that to make decisions. This is a lot easier. I think everyone can agree that this code is a lot easier. What does it require though? This that I didn't talk about. What the hell is that? Got bad news. It ain't free. Right? And you're like, what do you mean it ain't free? I'm going to show you something. You're going to be like, wait a second. We've never done anything with that. You're right. You haven't. You've never had to. Remember our connection details? We had to specify a data source. We had to specify a driver class. We had to specify a username and password. We do it via configuration, and the JDBC template does the rest. There's never a need for us to do it. So we have to do it in the resources. Now, because we're using MySQL and not, can't read. It's too small. Application properties, I'm going to just copy them. Obviously, we're not using Derby, right? So what do we want to do? Well, the easiest thing to do is not super simple. Sorry, brain farting here. We want to go to, was it one of the student controllers? Yeah, here we go. This is the URL. We know the user and user, so we don't have to worry about that. URL, we just pop that sucker in there. This is going to be, unfortunately, it's going to be the driver name, and we don't have to use it explicitly, so we don't actually know. So, but a good way to do this is just import com MySQL. This is, in fact, going to get us the driver. JDBC driver. Yeah, and you're like, wait a second, that gave us the driver name. Yeah, it's the easiest way to find it. That I know of anyway. You specify the driver name. And then the user should be user and user. If it's wrong, it'll let me know, because it likes to let me know when something's not right. We do one other thing, just make sure driver doesn't pop up with anything. No, that's the end one. Boom. Okay. Now with this, it's going to configure it. This statement right here configures all the connection details and sets up the JDBC template to be able to just query things by using this type of thing, right? It's like a framework built on top of JDBC. It's a Spring JDBC framework, if you will. Yes? So we get a lot of extra stuff. This is what auto-wired means. You know what auto-wired means? It means it's configured somewhere else. We're going to auto-configure it. Now, the best way to actually finish this would be to actually close the student controller and then just let it run. But I don't, because I don't actually want to do all the methods. I just wanted to do enough so we can see how it worked and be happy with it more or less. And the reason for that is pretty simple. We're going to go to JPA, and I think all of y'all are going to prefer Java persistence architecture vastly. It's a lot easier. The row mapper, we don't have to create row mappers. We just.
Are there pros and cons to both?
Huh?
Are there pros and cons to both?
No, I just use the JDBC because what ends up happening is that I usually some kid will always add the JDBC API. Look, I couldn't get MySQL to work. Like that's not what you're supposed to be installing, dude. And that's a problem, right?
Right.
So I just usually use JDBC API. Some people like it better. It seems to make more sense to some people because it is still the same basic thing. You have to create a SQL string. You have to do that. But JPA, what if I told you you didn't even have to do the SQL strings? Right? We're doing something simple. Yes. What are we doing? We're getting a student by SID. We're getting all the students. We're updating a student. We're replacing a student. We have to insert a student. Right? CRUD, right? Create, read, update, delete, and then we delete a student. What if I told you if we stick to basics, there's that JPA framework, and we don't have to write the SQL statements? Yeah, it's even better, wouldn't you think? No, you don't like it. That's okay. You're a little bit of a contrarian. What are you gonna do? Right? All right. But the hard part, Will, is if there is a hard part to this, is that the data source configuration, all that configured outside of the code. Yes. So we don't, it runs, if it throws an exception, it's going to throw an exception at a very weird time. You go, what do you mean? Actually, I want to make sure everything was saved. Yeah. So what do you mean at a weird time? Well, when the service starts running, it actually has to connect the JDBC engine. That's when the error is going to occur, not when endpoints are being managed and so forth. It'll occur above, which is better because that means connection problems will happen, will prevent the server essentially from doing its job. It won't load completely, right? It won't work. If the server's down, it's not going to work. So that's good, right? Very good. But requires more knowledge. The other thing I like about the J, so you don't do, so you remember how the other previous controller did everything with literal straight JDBC? The JDBC, you never want to do that.
Wow.
Because the JDBC and the JDBC template, the thing we just showed you, and the JPA will always do connection pooling and all those things, and much faster system. It says it's deprecated, which always makes me think of the word defecated. Boom, boom, boom. Loading class, blah, blah, blah. It loads the right thing. Okay. So then we just go to students. And we get an empty array. I noticed this earlier. Anybody else notice that? We got an empty array. Did we delete all the students? No, right? We didn't delete all the students, did we? Unfortunately, I don't have a select get all. It is connecting to the database. Oh, I think I was helping somebody with something and I think I deleted. Oh, I did. Crap. We do have a very empty database. I was showing somebody how to do something. And then I think I ran populate table. 926 and what you call it, the only ones on the desktop, the other ones are in documents. NetBeans products. And then SQL test, right? Pretty sure I emptied my table so that I could show somebody how to do something. And then I don't think I did anything with it. In other words, wiped out the table to repopulate it, and then never actually repopulated it. Yep, there we go. We got 5 students and then, ta-da. Okay, so it is working. But notice how little code I wrote in relation to the previous one. You can see that, but trying to remember Nathan's name. Nathan was asking me earlier which one would be preferred. So I just want to point out some things really quickly. So we never actually want to do the driver manager connection and the straight raw JDBC, if you will, because the JDBC template is actually sort of an engine that runs underneath. It's going to actually do connection pooling. It's going to share resources between queries and so forth. So it would be considered much, much, much faster. Execution will be so much faster. We have 5 minutes, so I think I can actually quickly I really could if I wanted to finish all the queries, but I'm just going to do the delete one because that one's pretty simple. We're also going to do this thing again. Nope. 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 Where is this? Yeah, it's October 3rd too. I just created get students. Here it is. There we go. I just want to do delete so we can do that, just delete. It works essentially the same way. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to do a quick query. If the database is there, if it's there, we're going to do something. If not, we're going to return not found. Actually, I'm cheating. Well, not cheating, but just being stupid. Here we go. So if val is greater than 0, that means it exists. Now we actually need to remove it. Okay. And got a brain fart. Nope. It's now removed. No, there is no remove. All right. I was hoping for a remove because otherwise I have to do this guy to get the actual object. See what happens when you brain fart? It's hard. Then I'll try student class and see if it works. Might not. But if it works, I'll return a student. Oh no, I just returned the integer, so I don't need the student, whatever. All right, so apparently I don't need the student because usually I return the student, but I guess not in this case. So we're gonna go db.execute. And we don't need a type. We're just gonna execute the string, return void, and we know we have actually deleted it. Right? Right. And it'll just report not found. It's actually much simpler, right? I mean, like from a variety of perspectives, it's a lot simpler than actually doing any of the other stuff we have to do. Yes, but there's a method that's actually faster. We're actually caught up, by the way, if you didn't know. In case you didn't know, there's actually another way that's called faster, right? And what do you mean by faster? Remember how we had to learn extra stuff to make the JDBC template work, right? Because now we have to do, you know, but the queries are like, we have this row mapper and it's just magic, right? It just works pretty, it converts it to a list of students, right? The problem is that what are we actually doing? We're actually just doing CRUD stuff in a database, right? And we're using data access objects. We are, that's what this is. Student row mapper is creating data access objects from databases, right? But it's doing it in a pretty raw way. What we're going to do in our next iteration is we're going to use JPA. JPA's benefit over JDBC template is very simple. It's going to allow us to do the CRUD things very easily. Create, add a new student, delete a student, update a student, and query for various things. We'll actually see the query engine is actually pretty cool. Here, you actually have to remember the actual SQL query. We're going to use an interface where they don't actually have to write any code, and it'll just do it for us. We also won't have to deal with row mappers. Do you like less code? Some people like less code, more knowledge. Some people like less knowledge, more code. Right? It all depends on what you want. However, you can do homework 2 in either case, JDBC template or JPA. Grad students, which I only think we have 2, they must do it in JPA. No option. Okay. It's distracting. It's very. So JDBC and JPA, Java Persistence Architecture. That's the one I really will use. Once we learn it, I'll never go back because JPA is just so much awesomer. For the basic CRUD stuff that you're going to want to do for what we need to do, JPA wins head and shoulders because we'll basically have to do nothing. But you remember all that connection stuff we had to do in our, at least somebody's going to have to be reminded that they have to put the connection details and those things in the configuration. Because JPA is also auto configured, right? JPA also has options and stuff. So, but if you just use the options I use over and over, you're kind of done. Remember, at home, you would just, Nathan would just do that and his code would work on his database. Or you change it to your last name or whatever, and it will work on your database. And all the other stuff, if you configured the way I asked you to configure MySQL, should just work. Yes? And the same thing's going to be true when we go to JDBC. Oops. Same thing's going to be true when we go to JDBC. Did anybody else notice the keyboard just magically worked today? I was about to put in a ticket today to get a new keyboard, but it magically fucking worked. Next time it doesn't work, I'm going to report it and get a ticket. Because if it's working, you know what's going to happen. The guy's going to come in and say, okay, what's wrong with your keyboard? Keyboard works. And then I look like an idiot. I'm telling you, it didn't work earlier. Worst kind of errors to me are what we call intermittent
Then they start
errors.
asking you dumb questions like, well, did you check if it was plugged in properly?
Well, yeah, but you know, like, what am I supposed to do, right? What are you supposed to do, right? Oh, I had a failing, oh, I got one for you. I had a failing pin on this computer. The pin was failing. Power cord too, remember? But the pin was failing. And well, did you change the battery? So those are new batteries in it. If you like to change the battery, go right ahead, change the battery. I mean, I watched the guy change the battery after I told him I changed the battery.
Did you?
Yes, I changed the battery, but he changed it again because he didn't believe me.
And did it work afterwards?
No.
Oh, okay.
If it worked, I would have shit myself. But you know, the point is like it was pretty annoying. But you know, the thing about IT is they have to ask these questions.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't have to ask me these questions, right? Because you think I already know what I'm talking about.
Right.
But they're probably so beaten into asking these questions that they don't even notice. Okay, so just as a reminder, homework 2 is not changing. Homework 2 is there. You know enough now to use a JDBC template. However, most of you are going to probably prefer, and by probably, very much prefer the JPA. So which we're going to do 10-5. Also, 10-5, we're going to be remote on Wednesday. I'm going to send an email out to that effect today because of Yom, I think I'm saying it right, Yom Kippur. Yes, so I'm going to eat kugel too, apparently. I don't know, there's no joke there. I am going to eat kugel. That's how she celebrates. My wife's Jewish, but that's how they celebrate. That's how we celebrate
it every year.
Huh?
Yeah, I've always celebrated.
Well, yeah, but celebrate it by having kugel. We don't do any of the religious things,
Right.
and I don't have any problem with that. We, you know, but I got a brisket for what was it, Rosh Hashanah, and then I'm getting. I just think of it in terms of what food I'm getting. I mean, isn't that what you think of?
Yeah, most of the time.
I mean, that's what I think of. Christmas, you get a big dinner, right?
I think of like the catering events that I have to do. But
Yeah, I mean, same idea.
Yeah.
right? So yeah, I got brisket for Rosh Hashanah and I'm getting kugel for and hopefully she doesn't make rugla because I don't like that. It's like this cookie thing. I don't know, it's hard. I don't like it. I don't like hard sweet things. Anyway. But yeah, due to Yom Kippur, class will be remote. 1017, I'm going to send an email out to this effect as well. 1017 will be recorded. There will be no remote session, what's called. In other words, you'll literally just have a recording online.
Okay.
I will probably record it this week and it'll just be online
Mhm.
way in advance. So you can look at it if you want. All right. Anyway, have a great day.
Thank you.
No problem. Today wasn't as bad as I thought it would be.